Welcome to Retro Scale Modeling. This is part 6 of the AMT kit Star Trek Next Generation USS Enterprise NCC 1701C. In part 5 I put in the lights on the upper half of the saucer section. In this part I'm going to be carrying on with the process of putting the lights in, but this time on the lower part of the saucer section. And if I have time I shall bond both saucer sections together. So let's jump into this. Well, I've changed my mind again, and instead of just colouring that to red and green, I am going to put in LEDs, which are here. And these ones are flashing ones, they're pre-wired. So before I do this, I'm going to have to do a little bit more light blocking. So this goes here, and I want, now you may have to light block around here, so you can see it flashing there, but if you notice one of the lights windows that I've drilled there, it's going to be flashing there with just a little gap there, so we're going to be losing this window, but that's okay. So I'll block this off. Now I may need a bit of filler, so I'm using Velagel plastic putty. Squeeze a little bit out on my kitchen towel here, on by the olives, just a tiny little bit, you can see that. So when I put the lights on, I shall wire them up, and that will just sit around about there. So you can see the light on there, and it's causing a flash around the rim of the saucer section. I keep on calling this the lower saucer section. I do apologise, it's the upper section. So anyway, this flashing will have to be blocked. So I'm just checking to see where all the light bleeds will be. Well, I've held the LED down with a bit of tape and it's time to light block. Now you can do this a couple of ways. I'm using first of all a bit of cement. Now this is the filler that I use for gaps, and I'm just placing this on where the actual electrical tape is, so it's not touching the bulb. That's quite important. You don't want your cement to touch the bulb, hence why I put tape on. Next I'm taking a piece of plastic card, just a thin strip, and placing it on where I put the cement cum filler, and that'll bond it to it. The reason why I'm using my filler, one, it's a melted down sprue from cement, so it acts as a bonding agent, and it's quite thick as well, so it also helps with light blocking. So I'm just placing that at the side, two parts, or running down the LED, and that'll block up the light coming from over the sides. And then I'll just put a little bit of tape over the top just to secure it in position while I'm moving the section around a bit. And then just light test to make sure I haven't got any light bleeds coming off, and that's okay, it's not penetrating the other windows. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm just putting a little bit of super glue in to hold the LED initially. Again, make sure this does not touch the bulb. You have to be very careful. So I'm just going to build the way through it, fast forward this part. If you're unsure about doing this, just do a little bit at a time and check it to make sure the light's coming, not getting leaked out. You can also block it with clay, anything that can mold around the bulb. So it's just stopping the light from shining onto the other parts of the section that you don't want it to. So there we are, that's the two LEDs in now. Again, you have to be careful not to put the tape over any of your holes, because you may completely block the light coming through them. Sometimes it can't be helped, but you just have to play with it. So all that's left to do now is to connect them. This is a little bit tricky process because the tail end is a bit short that I'm going to be connecting it to. So first of all, I just cut the wire to length, like so. And once that's done, I take the sheath off the wire. Again, be very careful if you're doing it the way I do it. You only need a little bit, but you want enough so you can twist around in another wire, which I'll be coming to in a moment. So I've cut another piece of wire, black wire, and exposed taking the sheath off, and then twisting the two black wires together to form a single spike as such, and then that will be getting soldered into the negative solder point. So what I've done is I've taken another piece of wire, twisted them around each other so it becomes a point, and then that gets soldered into the light opposite here onto the neutral and positive, depends which one you're doing. So you'll end up with the LED neutral running into the contact point of the light, and a wire running from the same contact point, but it's not been connected as of yet. So you can see the two of them there. The LED is connected, but the other two wires aren't connected yet. So I'm just going to be making a little test there to make sure the LED is working, because I've added to it. So once I connect up the power, hopefully everything will work out okay, and there we go. I then connect the two loose wires to the next set of lights. So once again, positive to positive, neutral to neutral, and that will give power onto the next set of lights. And another light test to make sure everything's working. And there you go, you can see it's working. You see the flashing and the two strip lights all having power to them now. So I've connected it all now. That's the 4 strip lights connected and the LEDs connected. So let's see how that looks. So once my power's connected, you can see both LEDs flashing and the strip light on as well. So just pop it over, and then you can see the light block has worked as well. There's no light block coming from the rim, apart from the underside obviously, and that's getting closed up, but there's no actual light bleed from the other windows. So I'm going to connect this wire to this section. Now, depending on which runoff you've got is where you're going to connect it. You know, you can connect it over there, but then you might not be able to close it up because you haven't got enough loose wire. So it's a good idea just to line up the contact pin in the recess hole there, so that you know you can just close it up like so. So we're just going to connect this. Well, that's connected, and all that's left to do is do a power test. And again, I apologise for the wire in front of the camera. I didn't notice it while I was recording, but you can see that it's all lighting up. Both sections the LEDs are flashing how I would like them. And we just lift up there you can see the lights. So it's all ready to be bonded together now. So that's it. Closed, but not bonded. I've just put bits of tape to hold it. But that's the underside. You can see the lights are flashing there and there. I'm not worried about the light leakage for me. I remember I said there's a good chance that you may have to fill in the this rim. You know, so it depends on well the clamp is. So that's the top side. Everything's glowing that I want it to glow, as well as on the rim. Just checking the red to make sure it's not coming out, that's good. So that's the saucer section lit up with flashing LEDs. Now to bond the two halves together, so I'm just using normal Revel cement here. Now this cement is quite good, it will eat through the paint given time. So if you've not scraped away any of the paint, and I recommend you don't on this because you'll damage some of your light blocking. So when you do bond it, you're going to have to give it a good couple of hours at least for it to dry and do its thing. So I'm just placing this cement all around the rim, and then it's time to close up. Make sure you do it from the back forward, because you've got that one anchor point that I left, and that should give you a good area to start to make sure it's all central. It will need a lot of clamps on it. I put almost the entirety of all my clamps on it, but as I say, you're going to have to leave this to dry for a few hours. Actually, I've left mine overnight to dry. I thought that would be best. So just to show you how many clamps that I've used, that's just to ensure that all of it is clamped up. And I'm doing a light test again because obviously I've closed it up and bonded it. Of course, at this stage it's a bit late now if anything goes wrong. So I'll put that to one side and start the next step. So I'm moving on to the middle part of the hull, so the middle section of the hull, and I'm placing in the wires. Now, if you remember, if you watched the other videos, I only dug a trench out on one of the parts. After having a look at it, I decided to dig another trench on the other half, just to give the wires a little bit more room. So first of all, I'm just securing the wire into the trench with a little bit of tape before I glue it down. And once that's done, I'll just put a little spot of super glue into the trench and push the wires onto the super glue and hold it. Make sure you're not holding it down with the glues or you'll end up gluing your fingers. And I'll be doing this all the way around, so there's 4 sets of wires going in, or about 2 sets of wires going in, 4 individual wires going in. So it's positive and negative on each side coming down. So on the tail end you're going to have 4 wires coming out which will be running into the hull. So that's how you sort of want it to look like. Now you can leave the tape on there if you wish. I did. I just cut off the tail end so they weren't going to be impeding onto where the glue is going to make contact. And once it was cemented, it was just a case of marrying up the 2 halves. Now this will take quite a few clamps to get it into place. I used a lot of G clamps there to give me more pressure to close it. My little spring clamps wouldn't be enough, so a couple of spring clamps just to hold it. Then I'll be putting the G clamps on to put it under more pressure. You've really got to do it this way because although you've dug out the trench, it may not be deep enough. I don't think mine really was deep enough, but I didn't do it any deeper because also you don't want to go through the plastic to the other side. So I think the G clamps are quite essential to doing this. Sorry for it being slightly off camera, but it was just the angle I needed to get to close these clamps off. I should have pointed out as well, on the tail end, 2 of the wires I put a little bit of tape on. That's just to tell me which group they belong to. You don't want to mix the groups up, so you don't want to put the left positive onto the right negative. You'll have problems down the line if you try and lighten up your nacelles that way. So this will bring part 6 to an end. Both units will be left to dry overnight, so the saucer section and the middle section of the hull. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the other parts of this build on the channel, or indeed you can check out the whole channel itself. There's 1 or 2 videos up there, not quite a few actually. I'm sure there'll be something there to interest everyone. If not, you can always tell me in the comments what you would like to be built, and I'm sure I can get around to something that you suggest. Subscribe to the channel for the upcoming updates of this build, or indeed any future build. Hit that like button, and as I said, leave your comments. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.